Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. My name is Doug Brunke. I am the founder and CEO of Global Chamber. This year has been monumental on many levels. I think on one level, more on the negative side, I would say the world continues to be a challenging place geopolitically. We don't seem to be generally headed in the right direction, and so way I look at that is that it just puts more emphasis on all of our parts to be more global and unstoppable, and to be flexible and resilient, and keep our mental health in a good place, and also continue to educate those who are less knowledgeable about the value of global business and the importance of global business, not only to create prosperity for people and for companies, but also to keep people speaking with each other, to keep people together, to have conversations rather than throwing things at each other or angry words. Much better to exchange products and services. And so trade is more important than ever. And I encourage you to continue to be involved with trade and growing trade. We are going to talk a little bit about that today. And our keynote speaker is Abdoulaye Sambo. And he recently, I'm not sure he'd been a member of Global Chamber, but he definitely did either become a new member or renewed his membership. And I began to, at least this year, learn a little bit more about his background and some of the things that he's involved with. And one of them is he's going to be talking about today. We like to chat about not just challenges, but mostly opportunities. There's infinite opportunities around the world. That's the good news about trade. There's nothing that stops us. We can have the control and the power to do anything that we want. It's really just our own minds that get in the way. And so all we need is information. We need some connections, and then we just need the determination to move forward. And so that's what Abdoulaye has done in his own business and his career. Welcome, Abdoulaye. Are you able to speak? Do you have a mic that's open? And are you ready to share more about the opportunities in Senegal and beyond?
Yes, definitely, Doug, and good morning, all. And thank you so much for the Global Chamber just allowing me and just giving me the time to share the information about World Innova LLC, which is my company registered in Virginia. And also, I have a company registered in Senegal, World Innova Senegal SORL. That's a company that is registered locally in Senegal. And why Senegal? I'm originally from Senegal. I moved to the US about 25 years ago. Just with my, I started with my professional career. I spent 15 years in the banking sector in the US. I worked now for 9 years at the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, Missouri. Wells Fargo Advisors headquarters, 6 years, and moved on to consulting with the government, and also because consulting, I mean, internationally also. So the main focus for World Innova is first was is consulting, and yeah, second sector I'm involved is advisory. Because of my banking background, I do get a lot of hits, a lot of ask about project funding, mainly for the continent of Africa. And so I also work with the Virginia Export Department that actually help a lot of US and Virginia companies expand into Africa. I have traveled quite a bit with a lot of US companies just looking to expand. So that allowed me from the different contacts that I received from different companies, from different sectors, that really allowed me to do more research about different sectors in terms of like the renewable energy, water, infrastructure, healthcare. I mean, that kind of pushed me to do research where I have strong knowledge about like what renewable energy is, right? That's as an example. So because of those contacts, so that is, I started my journey in 2013 when I first traveled with a US MAC Waters that's based in Kansas City. Traveled to Senegal because they wanted to expand Senegal. Never went to Africa. Never. That was the first time going to Africa. That's where I really started my journey. And then from then, I started to just like really dig into more sectors, more companies that I actually took to Africa, helped really expand their business in Africa. So today,
Amazing.
Mhm.
That's amazing. Great background and very important background. I think today, tell us a little bit more about what you'll be talking about, and then how should we structure? How long of a presentation do you have? You'll be taking Q&A, and then we'll have some more time for others to share after your presentation. What do you have for us today?
What I have for the group today, it's presenting opportunities for Senegal and Gambia. I will just give a high level overview of Senegal and Gambia. I think it is more important for people to ask questions and interested about knowing more the market. So I just can provide those answers that the people that need. For Senegal, has 18 million people. Senegal has been expanding in the last 5 years with the oil and gas discovery in the country. So that really took the economic growth at 6.6% in 2024. And in 2022, we were at 4.1%. So the GDP per capita is 1,700 USD. So Senegal is developing a lot of special economic zone to welcome like foreign investments. So those economic zones present a lot of incentive for investors that want to invest in different sectors. Mainly, those sectors are sectors that create jobs, is manufacturing. So we just come to realize that that's the country and also Africa where 70% of the entire population is under 30 years old. So labor is available, and also I would say cheap labor is available. So Africa is open for business. Senegal is also open for business for all types of investment in the energy sector, tourism, hospitality, healthcare system, infrastructure. So we have quite a bit of infrastructure has been developed in Senegal. We have an express train now. We have electric bus now that's running in Senegal. So a country that is stable and peaceful, and the political risk is pretty low in Senegal. So I think that we welcome all investment in Senegal. For Gambia, Gambia is a smaller country, 2.8 million. The GDP per capita is about 700. So even the real GDP, when you adjust the inflation, is 1.7 billion. So not a lot because, but the fact that it's a country with a small population of 2.8 million, it just makes sense. So the opportunities for Gambia is also all of these that I mentioned for Senegal, but the main driver for the economy in Gambia is just two sectors, agriculture and tourism. So Doug, I will stop there and welcome any questions that the team may have.
So, sounds great. One question I have before we receive any questions from the audience, and please feel free to either raise your hand or just unmute yourself. What are the particular businesses that you're involved with there? And then how often do you visit?
I visit quite often. My last trip to Senegal was in December 2024. So I travel quite a bit from like at least five times a year. that I travel Senegal, and depending also on the need. So I may be going to Cote d'Ivoire soon because I'm involved with a large housing project where the company Next New Concept based in Arizona is looking to build a manufacturing plant to build like housing products in order to just produce about 300 to 400 houses a month.
Okay, that sounds like the Dave Binsfeld project, the one he's doing with his I forget the fellow's name. Uh, did Dave Binsfeld sound like a familiar name to you?
Yes, we are working on the same project.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
that is the same project. And I also have a group, just a group of Texas that I couldn't go to Senegal, but 2 weeks ago that went to they are in the agricultural sector, and they've been in the agricultural sector in Texas since 1979. They just traveled to Senegal to work with one of the biggest rice producers in Senegal. He also has a mill, so they traveled to Senegal to consult with him and supplying him agricultural equipment and also advising him on how to increase his rice production in Senegal. So those are just examples that with companies that I'm involved now, working with US companies that's looking to, because I have, and the main thing it's important also is having the great and strong connections with the country.
Sounds good. I know Ruby Golo is in the call. I'm not sure, Ruby, if you can have the time or the ability right now to speak, but I know you've spoken a little bit about in the past that region. You're an expert in Ghana, but you're an expert in trade and across the region. Have you done some work there in Senegal and the Gambia? And do you have any comments that you'd like to make? And Ruby may not be able to speak now, but does anybody else have some experience in that area or have any either comments or questions? It's a quiet group today.
Uh,
Hi, Cecil. How are you?
Good morning and good afternoon. Two questions, actually. I know that Senegal is a lot larger than the Gambia, but what is the retail sector like in regards to particularly food and beverage items for resale, wholesale, or importers of those type of items?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Cecile, for your question. Food item, it's really, I'll give you an example for Gambia. Gambia imports about 200,000 rice every year. And Senegal imports twice that. Sugar is the same thing there. So food, it's retail, it's really a good opportunity. But most times the problem is that challenges that I would say is the payment terms.
Mm-hmm.
So those two transactions I've been involved with. So the main challenge that to figure out is payment terms. Payment terms is just like because most times you trade the SBLC is requested a standby letter of credit or a simple letter of credit it's required. So local banks, it's a challenge. So I think that I advise a lot of people that want to get involved with trading to travel into the country and talk to several local banks and figure out how we can build a relationship with those local banks. So they will
Thank you.
know you and you know them, and then you can just like really figure out a way to work. So if those banks know you, they'll be more willing to, for example, wire 30% and then you can ship and then get paid the remaining. But they will never do that, which is risky these days to make payments to someone they don't know, they never build a relationship with. So
Very good.
that is my advice.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Could you comment a little bit about the geopolitics on the ground? What's the situation, in terms of the stability of both countries, and how is it changing? And given that you're in Washington, D.C., and there's certainly a lot of noise that's coming out of Washington, things like USAID employees leaving Africa. I saw a message from Tanzania about that. That seems to be going on. How are those issues impacting what you're seeing on the ground, if at all?
Yeah, I think that I will take this situation as what happened during the pandemic, COVID, right? So USAID has stopped all the funding. So myself, I'm impacted because I went to Senegal in December to sign a grant award from the United States African Development Foundation. So I have been involved with the solar irrigation system for banana farmers in Senegal and have applied for a grant. So I was a 250,000 grant. Now that I'm being told that the grant has been paused. So I'm impacted by that. At the same time, can we rely on these forever, right? And I think that it's just like really a lesson for the countries to become self-reliable, become independent at some point, right? We can blame the US for stopping all of these aids, but at the same time, what are we doing to really become independent? When the pandemic hit, we had to figure out a way to survive. We had to figure out to make our own product. We had to find a way to do things that makes us independent, right? So the I think it's a good thing for me. I think it's an opportunity to become innovative. That's an opportunity to self-reflect on how these countries should be ran. So the political environment, Senegal is a stable country. It's a peaceful country. We just have a new government. It's just got elected in 2024. So they have till 2029. That is when the next presidential election is going to happen. For Gambia, they are going to have their next presidential election is going to be in 2026 for Gambia. Actually, Gambia today is celebrating their independence today.
Oh, okay, fantastic.
Yep.
That's amazing. Oh, that's great. Where do you see most of the trade opportunities going forward between the Gambia and Senegal and other countries, whether in Africa or into other continents?
I think trade will mostly. Africa is very attractive right now, even for Asia. Lots of and Turkey. And for example, in Senegal, Turkey, they did a great job on just like learning I would say the Asian, but I would say more so the Chinese strategies on just how to invest in Africa. So in the last year, Turkey made $70 billion in Africa. Just in Senegal, the biggest infrastructure in Senegal have been funded by Turkey. So today we have that investment coming from Turkey that is really impactful for the country, that creates lots of jobs. But also we have India in terms of like trade, commodities, Chinese in all sectors pretty much.
Could you comment a little? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask, my name is Elijah. I want to ask, what is the uptake of technology in business in Senegal? How is e-commerce? How is digital marketing? How whether it's both for big businesses and small scale businesses? How is it that uptake of technology in business in that region?
Technology is it's going well, I would say, in Senegal, and in most countries today. We know that technology made the world very smaller now. With a computer or a phone, you can connect to the entire world. So, and then today also, the diaspora contributes a lot into the African continent. As we know, you can find Senegalese in the smallest country in the world that you can find Senegalese there. And the fact that uh, the diaspora lived overseas for a long time, there's a huge like return to those countries, mainly Senegal, I would speak about, in Gambia, that is bringing this technology that into the country. So it's available and it's a huge market.
Elijah, do you work in the region?
No, I work in East Africa. I'm in Nairobi, so I am not familiar with West Africa mostly.
Okay. You do digital marketing?
Yeah, I'm a digital marketing specialist. Yeah.
Okay, very good. Do you are you familiar with our Global Chamber Executive Director, Cliff in Nairobi?
No, not we have not been acquainted yet. Yeah, we've not
Okay.
met yet. Yeah.
Well, feel free to reach out and also send us your contact information. We probably have it in your registration so that we can connect you. Happy to.
Okay, that would be good.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Well, I don't see any other questions, Abdoulaye. And so maybe if you could make some final comments about the region and any other things you'd like to leave us with, and then we'll shift gears and just open up the floor to other conversations about Africa.
That is wonderful. Thank you again, Doug, for the opportunity, and thank you, the Global Chamber team that organizing this. So the two things that I will leave with, it's Africa, again, is open for business, and don't be afraid. The people to travel to Africa had made it one journey, but they are looking forward to going back because some of the things they saw there. All right. So, and I'll say that don't be afraid to reach out and ask questions. But one thing that I will strongly advise, that do not go to Africa. If you've never been to Africa, I've seen a lot of US companies that make that mistake, went to Africa on their own because they wanted to save money. They didn't want to hire a consultant with them and came back frustrated. Right. So I will strongly advise that just get some advice. If needed, travel with someone who has strong connections, so to avoid that waste of time and the frustration. So it is a market that you have to get involved if you know the market. But Senegal being a French-speaking country, that it makes the difference. It makes a difference when you travel with someone who knows the continent, know the country, and has strong connection there. Gambia is an English-speaking country, but it's like inside of Senegal, which is weird, but it's just like you leave Senegal, you go to Gambia, and then once you leave Gambia, you go back to Senegal. That's just how it is. You know, it's just kind of just built, but it is like, you know, it is what it is. So I would say just bring the investment, reach out, World Innova LLC, my email. I will just put that in the chat here in a minute. So just, you know, it's like I said, Turkey made $70 billion. If that's bad, certain Turkey would not make that money. They will not go there. They are there making a lot of money. So, and Senegal also hosts, because of being peaceful, and host lots of conferences and those conferences bring a lot of people. Today, for example, for the hotel business with 50% occupancy, you can get your money back in 2 years. And the last thing that that's information that I just wanted to share about Senegal is we have the Youth Olympics in 2026, November 2026. That's coming up next year. So,
okay. Interesting.
Thank you, Doug.
The Youth
you,
Olympics.
Say it again.
Which Olympics is that?
The International Youth Olympics.
Okay. I'm not familiar with that, so I'd like to learn more. Thank you for that.
Yep.
So we have about 25 minutes left, and so we could end early, but there's a lot going on the continent. I know there's a number of people here who have a lot of things going on, so I'd like to open up the floor to any ideas and thoughts and opportunities that you'd like to share. Who's got something? And
Hey there, Doug. This is Stephanie. I would love to share.
Yes, Stephanie. Thank you.
I have a frog voice, and so I wasn't been feeling well, so I didn't really want to get on, but I would love to get on today. Thank you so much for sharing the information. It's really, I didn't know so much was going on over there in Senegal, and thank you so much for sharing that information. And I like what the gentleman said, that they had to kind of pivot, similar to what they had to do during COVID. We all had to pivot, and so therefore, not getting, or the USAID being on hold, him having, stating that they have to pivot. What can they do? So that was refreshing, because sometimes with all that's going on in these politics, it's been very interesting, and he just open my eyes and say, you know what, got to pivot. These things are happening. You can't stay stuck in the spot saying, woe is me. How do I pivot? So thank you so much for just sharing that tidbit. Helped me today. One thing I would like to share, my name is Stephanie Austin. I am the Executive Director of Global Chamber Dallas-Fort Worth. And we do have a webinar today on Healthy Heart. And that's for everyone. It's at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. We have Dr. Kaba that's going to be presenting, and also Dr. Tunstall Stroman. I'm going to talk about Healthy Heart and how it impacts many people, but it significantly impact people of color. But healthy heart management is important for everyone, heart disease. So join us today. You can go to Global Chamber event page and look for Global Chamber Dallas-Fort Worth and register, or either I can drop it here I'll drop it here in the chat. The other thing I want to share is that Austin Global Solution, which is my business, we offer process improvement, workflow optimization, as well as administrative back office support. And most of my team is in Zimbabwe, Africa, that I utilize, and I have a team here in the US. So I think I put my LinkedIn on there. If anyone's interested in knowing more about it, please feel free to reach out to me. Doug, thank you, and Jemima. Jemima is like a keepsake. She makes things happen even on the dime. So Jemima, I just want to say thank you, and Doug, thank you, and Cesar for your all's leadership.
Thank you, Stephanie. Really appreciate it. Stephanie is our executive director in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area, and she has her own business. And I love the healthcare approaches that you're taking in addition to the other international trade approach generally that we have at Global Chamber. Thank you. Such an incredibly important market segment. Mr. Bonamelo Malloy is raising his hand, and I'd like to call on him next. He's in Johannesburg, South Africa, I believe, and we connected a number of weeks ago and in a deeper way, and we started to talk about how we might be able to work together and collaborate. And Sally Alimam is here in the call, and so Bonamelo, Sally was on the emails exchanges that you and I have had, and we talked a little bit about having you say a few words about your perspective on what's going on in South Africa and some of the opportunities there. Are you open to share a little bit more, or would you have a question first, or what would you like to do?
I think first and foremost, let me say thank you, Doug. You did kind of pick me out from LinkedIn, and as a young man, I'm not really exposed to these platforms, so I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. I think let me introduce myself, and then we'll take it as we go. Would that be okay?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. I'd like to greet everyone. My name is Bonamelo, as Doug had said. I'm all the way in Johannesburg, South Africa. I'm actually born and bred from the township community of an area called the city of Ekurhuleni. And I think my growth journey has been a profound one, where I think I'm 37 this year. I think so. I'm born in 98, in 1988, and I've always grown to want to defy the environment in which I find myself, to say that it will not limit where potentially I could end up as a young man. And I'm happy to say to you that in my introductions today, I run a fully registered nonprofit organization that is driven towards skills development in South Africa. And to date, we have just launched an ICT center positioned in those township communities as well, to serve predominantly the informal settlement communities and their youth. So the goal is to almost transfer what drives me as a young person, as I said, from a personal connection, to say that, you know, your environment does not have to define where you can ultimately get to. So I think in brief introductions, I would like to hold it there, Doug, and you can guide me on the way forward.
Okay. Well, one follow-up question would be, what's your vision? So when we maybe even looking at this year, what is it that you're looking to accomplish? What types of things are you involved with? Who are you meeting and working with, and what kind of impact are you hoping to have?
Thank you so much, Doug. Let me say that, you know, our journey to date, we've just turned 3 years old as a registered organization now in January. And we are yet to, I would say, solidify a long-term partner. Why I'm saying that is because in our 3 years of establishment, with that being a common sort of thing for growing organizations, I recognize that it's because of the milestones we've been able to reach in those communities as well. And in December 2023, we piloted coding and web development for the township youth, right? And this was without any funding, but of course, driven through passion. And we were able to, I think, start with only about 20 learners that we were able to impact in that. So 2024, I told myself that, listen, there's so much more that can be achieved out of this. Of course, we continue to talk to many people as well in our journey to get partners on board, but we were able to complete 2024 with grade 10s and 11s, about 20 of them as well, who started out not knowing how to even use a computer device. But of course, we all know that smartphones are there. Young people have got smartphones, but they have no sort of exposure, direct exposure to computers. And that was an amazing milestone, and it fueled my passion even more. And we've just started today, actually, with our first group of 27 youth, unemployed youth, that we'll be seeing through and pushing them throughout the year. So in our programs, currently, we are not charging for these programs at the moment. They are coming through to our facility, which is actually something very profound, because it used to be my home. and I've sort of donated it to this passion of mine. I know some people say it's crazy, but it's actually at my house, or a place that used to be at my house that I've turned into an ICT center just to see what one can do to throw themselves at this passion. So they are starting there. There's Wi-Fi, but of course you can imagine limited resources, but we are going forward nonetheless. So the drive really is that, by the end of the program, why it's a year-long program, is because we are hoping to bridge the gap of unemployment, essentially, because many of our young people, graduates, dropouts, they almost fall in the same category because of limited space, number one, limited vacancies, and therefore my drive is to give them a skill that can equip them towards two exit strategies. One of seeking employment, of course, which is what we are mostly taught as young people. But the one that is key to me is one of digital entrepreneurship, and then incubate them towards that as well. And what we are starting with this year is basic computer literacy, because we've identified through our trial and error session whilst piloting that most of them require the basic computer literacy skill. So we're starting with that, then going into introduction to programming, of course, coding and web development, and hopefully mobile app development, introductions, of course, into that. But those are the competencies in which we hope to start with. This is, of course, incorporates AI as well, and getting them out there by the end of the year to ensure that at least whilst they are looking for jobs, if they want jobs, but they've got a skill that they can come back and we can incubate them and help them derive revenue from it.
Excellent. I saw a message from Nima in Tanzania, interested in connecting with you. Nima, I'm not sure if you can unmute yourself and say hi at this moment, but if you can, certainly welcome to do that. Nima does programs, training programs for women, training for young people, training on leadership. Yeah, so there's certainly a good amount of alignment with some of the initiatives that she's involved with. So we'll make sure that you guys are connected for sure.
Thank you very much, Dagan. Thank you for the opportunity again.
Thank you. Does anybody have any additional comments or anything else you'd like to share? Please unmute yourself or go ahead. I know Zazie, you've got some work that you're doing in Africa, and I would imagine Bonamello, I don't know whether you're connected already, but some of the things he talked about are aligned with some of your initiatives as well.
I thank you, Doug. Bonamello, it's so lovely to hear you chatting today. I'm from Western Cape, and I've moved to Estonia to get our project going, but so many synchronicities. Love hearing all the things that you're talking about. I think we're speaking the same language, and it would be so lovely to connect along with Nemo, who's also working with us. And I mean, all of us are in the mix in terms of how to shift the narrative for MSMEs and digital entrepreneurship. So it'll be super to connect with you in person. Maybe we could become one of those long-term partners. That would be really exciting.
Zazie, would you explain a little bit more about what you're doing in Africa, please?
Oh, sure. Sorry, I just thought it wasn't the time. So we are developing a two-pillared solution for MSMEs in Africa and globally, actually, but we're launching first in Africa with a view to, we're partnering with the Free Trade Union and the Policy Network, African Policy Network, to become hopefully the official platform for the African Free Trade Union down the line. Our initiative is global in terms of really wanting to make sure that we can take people within the SMME sector to the next level. And so we're developing currently in development, two digital platforms which will operate as video directories and marketplaces. First is Oneism, which is focused on export-ready businesses, and the second is Oneism Odyssey, which is a 2-year program, free to participate in, and it's an incubator process. Really, for example, what Bonamela is doing theoretically, once people have their computer literacy that he's working with, they could become part of the Oneism Odyssey program. They would then go through a year's worth of training, access to resources in terms of trading, learning about e-commerce. Second year would be about really developing their skills in terms of digitizing their business, formalizing their business processes. And Oneism Odyssey will offer sort of many localized marketplaces within our participating countries. So we're in 27 participating African countries currently, already registering interest from businesses to onboard as soon as our MVPs are ready to launch. And idea being that that's free to participate, so we can uplift businesses that are marginalized, be it women, be it young entrepreneurs, formal, informal traders, and get them to the point where, should they wish to enter a more sort of global structure, they can then get involved in intra-Africa trade. Alternatively, they can move over to Oneism and get involved in global trade as well as intra-Africa trade. And I think the wonderful thing about all these globalized, Doug, is that somehow there's synchronicity within what all of us are doing. We're all trying to contribute to cross-border trade and how we can really collaborate across borders to make a difference. And I think from our side, the thing that we're most determined to do is make sure that whatever impact we drive, it really impacts on the business sector we're talking about, because we can all spend a lot of time having conversations about what needs to happen, but it often doesn't always hit the ground where it's needed most.
It takes a village. I'm wondering.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
If you don't mind, just a question that occurred to
Yes,
me.
of course.
Abdoulaye left Senegal and lives in the United States and has been
Yes, I
working for
heard.
a long period of time. Bonamelo is still in Johannesburg. You left for Estonia. Could you kind of contrast the impact that you're having by leaving and moving to Estonia? Why did you leave? How has it worked out for you? And what are the kind of the implications from a global perspective of people who have the ability to do that now? Technology enables that. How does that play into the kinds of impact that we all wish to have sometimes in our home country, but maybe not living in our home country?
Sure, it's actually a great question, Doug, and it's been quite a fascinating experience. This Oneism itself started almost 8 years ago now, as a little dream, like we all have in terms of our companies and what we want to achieve. And it started with lots of research and development processes, pilot projects, etc. But for some reason, it took me to numerous countries in the world, even though my passion, obviously, I'm from Africa. Right from when I was a little girl, I thought that business was the way that we needed to change the world. I didn't understand the disparities that existed. And anyway, very, very long story short, what came out of our research was that the most important fundamental thing, which you mentioned at the beginning of the Globinar, is how important it is that we all stay connected and that we all are connected and have conversations. And I think that was one of the key sort of things with regard to Oneism in terms of really looking at global trade, digital business, and how we can facilitate actual connection while we going through the processes of connecting with buyers, sellers, etc. Anyway, obviously, over the years, there have been many trials and errors. We learned so much, and even though it's not about reinventing the wheel, we're approaching it in a different way. So it's been an interesting process in terms of really need to think outside the box about what we want to achieve and how we want to create impact. And moving to Estonia was necessary just because South Africa, I mean, all of Africa for me is incredibly dynamic. That's why we're wanting to focus on Africa in the beginning, because the world needs to know what's available there. We have so many amazing entrepreneurial things happening, and innovation in Africa is very different to what it is on other continents. You know, I mean, all continents have their own unique sort of ability. But I think right now, as we all know, Africa is kind of where it's happening. But the infrastructure we have in South Africa can be limited. I also wanted to make sure that we could start approaching sort of one as a moving into activity rather than just being something we're talking about in a work in progress from a global perspective, because I think one of the things that inspires us about Global Chamber, for example, but we don't all get it right as people. What does cross-border collaboration really look like? Are we really working together? Are we just talking about it and sharing emails and saying, great, let's partner, but we never really do anything actively together? So Estonia was from a technological and development process to really look at marrying those things. And now moving into almost ready to trade, been an amazing opportunity to actually step outside of the comfort zone and be exposed to so many new people with so many new thought processes, because as you quite rightly said, I think for any business initiative in the new world as we know it today, it does take a village. And even Oneism, for example, it can't actually succeed unless we all come together. And those of us that are interested in working together all become part of that process. So the project actually becomes about what we want to achieve rather than our own little story.
Fantastic. Well said. Thank you very much. Captured the spirit really of what Global Chamber
so.
is about.
I could wax lyrical for days. I'm just so inspired about what everyone is doing and what we can all do together.
Agreed. Let's continue to make that progress. Any other questions or I see Nima has her hand raised. Are you able to speak now, Nima? I know I saw a message that you were having a hard time connecting.
Yes, I was in a move. So I just wanted to speak to Bonamelo, and he read and spoke my language, and seeing other youth working to change the narrative. It is really, I really want to connect, and also I just want to let you know that I have a group or a connect of youth in Africa, and I think it's very important to put youth in the same platform to discuss and their issues. It doesn't matter if we also work with primary and secondary schools, but also university level, and we know that in technology is there and it's there to stay. So I'd really like to connect so that we can see how we can work together in that aspect.
Wonderful. Thank you. We definitely should get you two connected for sure. Thank you, Bonamelo, for sharing today, and thank you all for speaking. We'll start to wrap up the program. I don't know if Salih Alimam, if you're available to speak, but if you are, please unmute yourself. But I'll just say that some of you have already met Salih. She's a recent graduate of the Thunderbird School of Global Management. She last year was an intern with Global Chamber, and now she is working at Global Chamber. So we hired Salih. She's also getting her master's degree as well. She's originally from Syria, but now living in Phoenix, Arizona, where our headquarters is, and going to have a busy week because she's not only helping us with our chapter growth, but we have a big event tomorrow. It's the 4th annual Global Chamber Semiconductor Summit, an immensely complicated and dynamic and maybe most important market segment in the world in terms of kind of thinking over the next 10, 20 years, the importance of artificial intelligence and technology all depends on semiconductors and progress there. And what's all wrapped up in that is the dynamics of the technology that has to continually evolve, the huge investment that needs to be made in future technologies, the dynamics of China and Taiwan, so China versus the West, and what about Taiwan that China claims as their own, and yet on the other hand has really most of the advanced semiconductor technologies. It's a geopolitical interesting story. It's a technology story. It's an international interdependence story, as there are 10 to 20 countries around the world that have significant semiconductor investment. So that's happening this week as well, and so we're looking forward to that and at our headquarters. I think that's the end of the program, unless anyone has anything. I'd like to go maybe to Jem first. Jemima is with Global Chamber based in Singapore. And Jem, thank you for all that you do. Those of us that know what you do with members and with events know that it's so critically important. We do hundreds and hundreds of events, and you keep us in order and in line. What's coming up, or what would you like to share that members can gain from?
By the way, guys, I also left a comment about the Globinar for later for GC Dallas. Feel free to join us later at 3 p.m. CT or 1 p.m. PTR time. So yeah, and also feel free to visit our website. Just visit the event site. We already have plotted until March 2025. So feel free to join our upcoming Globinars, especially this week. We are very busy since tomorrow we will be having our 4th Semiconductor Summit, but it's in Arizona. So yeah, feel free to join our Globinars, and thank you for showing up every time we have Globinars. So feel free, if you have any feedback, feel free to send me a message so we can also improve your members' experience. So yeah, just feel free to email me at jemima@globalchamber.org. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. The Semiconductor Summit is an in-person event. However, it also is virtual, and there's two-hour blocks. The first 2 hours is mostly North America and industry type information, including a summary of what's going on by an industry expert. And then the final 2 hours is mostly international, mostly Asia related, and a final 1 hour dedicated to an interview and a keynote address by Stan Shi, who is the founder of Acer. He also is on the board of directors for TSMC, the most significant semiconductor technology company. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation, his keynote address about technology in the world and where it's headed and the semiconductor industry. He may or may not be talking about geopolitics. I don't know. He's based in Taiwan, so it's a very important topic. And he'll be interviewed not only by myself, but Mayor Kate Gallego of Phoenix and Matt Salmon, who is a Chinese-speaking U.S. ex-representative from the U.S., and Francis Tesmer, who is a German-born leader who's on the Global Chamber Advisory Board on a global basis, which we just launched that advisory board last week. Actually, 1 week ago today, we have a global board, one person at least from each of 8 regions of the world. And so I'm really excited by not only what we talked about a week ago, but being able to then now share that with our members and the world. It's going to be, and as I've mentioned to some, we almost named today's newsletter about an inflection point. It feels like for Global Chamber, we've reached an inflection point with the Semiconductor Summit, with the Global Council, which is our advisory board that launched last week, and with the members rising and with the progress that we're making in helping members connect around the world. Utilizing this village of ours to help members grow, that we are going to have hopefully a very impactful year, and one certainly in support of our members' success. Thanks everybody for taking the time to join today. One other person maybe could have the last word. Cesar Trabanco is the head of the Connections Center in Ponce, Puerto Rico, and he's also with myself leading Global Chamber. Cesar, can you provide any last comments?
Yes, thank you, Doug, and thanks everyone for attending today, and especially Abdoulaye. It's been great knowing you. I've been involved in your conversations with me, John, and getting to know a little bit more about Senegal today. Senegal is the only country I have visited in sub-Saharan Africa, and so I promised myself to add to the list. But in general, a great country, and I can see all the opportunities there. I just want to mention this week we have the League of Opportunities Part 1 on Thursday and Part 2 on Friday. This is always a great event for you to connect with fellow members. And so if you haven't received any invite or you haven't registered, just take a look and let us know if we can support you anyways. But it would be great to see you there. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Have a great week.
I just want to add something. Sorry, this is Sally, and I
Oh,
was
hi, Sally.
speaking, but I was mute. I'll make it really quick. I just want to say I'm really glad. I'm so sorry. I'm really glad to be part of Global Chamber. For me, Global Chamber, it's a really big company to be with, and working with them all. It's mean a lot. I'm really glad to be part of tomorrow event as well as one of the biggest important event going on. Thank you all who attend this meeting. It's a pleasure meeting you all. For people who speak, it was really interesting, all you guys, what you do. Looking forward to meet with you all. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to reach. My email is sally.at globalchamber.com. Thank you all and have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Sally. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Have
Doug.
a great day.
Have a good day, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.